If you're relocating to BC from another province, chances are that you're bringing a vehicle with you. Here are 13 things you need to know before moving to BC with your car or your truck.
Your vehicle will need to pass an out-of-province inspection before you'll be able to register it in BC. This inspection will cover things like brakes, front end and suspension parts, and your lights and electrical system. If any of the items on the inspection fail, you'll need to have them repaired or replaced and then have the inspection redone. Our car was about 8 years old when we moved to BC, and all it needed to pass the inspection was a new windshield. Expect to pay between $130 and $200 for the inspection. You can Google out-of-province inspection and the name of the town you're moving to get a list of facilities that will do the inspection for you.
Speaking of windshields, if you have a crack or a chip in yours, have it replaced before you come to BC. Our car was in great shape but failed its out-of-province inspection due to a cracked windshield. In Alberta, a cracked or chipped windshield didn't mean your truck or car automatically failed an inspection. Generally, if the crack wasn't in the driver's line of sight, you were good to go. We figured we'd chance our cracked windshield and only replace it if it was a sticking point on the inspection. That ended up costing us an extra couple $100, as the cost to replace a windshield here was about double the cost we were used to in Alberta.
Another expense that might surprise you is the requirements for most BC vehicles to have snow tires in the winter. From October 1st to April 30th, BC drivers need to have snow tires mounted on their car or truck. This is a rule everywhere except for the Lower Mainland, parts of Vancouver Island, and the Sunshine Coast.
We get this exemption because the weather here is mild and we rarely see snow. However, once we leave this area, we need to follow the same snow tire law as the rest of the province. This means if we decide to drive from Gibsons to, say, Edmonton for Christmas, we need to change our tires before leaving. When we first moved to BC, we had a separate set of winter tires on a second set of rims, but when it was time to buy new summer tires, we bought all-weather tires instead. All-weather tires are different from all-seasons tires and allow us to run all over the province any time of year without changing our tires.
All seasons have a reputation as being not great summer tires and terrible winter tires, whereas all-weather tires are considered to be pretty good summer tires and pretty good winter tires. How do you know if the tires you already own are considered winter tires? Look for either the mud and snow marking or the three-peaked mountain snowflake emblem on your sidewall.
In Alberta, you get away with one license plate on your vehicle, but here in BC, you'll need a plate both front and back. Because our car had spent its entire life in Alberta, there was no front license plate mount on the car. Getting the mount was a bit of an ordeal because the part was something that only the dealer carried, and even then it had to be brought in from Ontario. Because we don't have an Acura dealer here on the Sunshine Coast, we had to make a special trip to the city in order to pick up the license plate mount. If your car doesn't already have a place to permanently affix a front license plate, get it sorted out before you relocate between provinces.
As with most things in BC, you'll pay PST when you buy a vehicle, new or otherwise. But if you're moving to BC and you're bringing your vehicle with you, you'll get a one-time exemption provided that your car or truck isn't a work vehicle and you've owned it for more than 30 days before moving to BC. If you buy a new car or truck right before moving in an effort to get around paying PST, you'll probably be in for a surprise when you go to register your vehicle. If you live in BC, there's nothing stopping you from buying a car in another province, but know that you'll be charged PST when you insure and register it here.
But Paul, you say, I'll keep my Alberta license, insurance, and registration indefinitely, and then I'll never need to pay any PST. Well, I've got some bad news for you. If you claim to live at one address when you're actually living at another, the Insurance Bureau of Canada considers that to be premeditated insurance fraud. I'm not a lawyer, and this isn't legal advice, but lying to an insurance company and two provincial governments about where you actually reside seems like a terrible idea that could easily blow up in your face.
While we're on the topic of insurance, know that in BC, we have public auto insurance issued through the Insurance Corporation of British Columbia, or ICBC for short. ICBC is a provincial crown corporation through which British Columbians must buy ICBC basic auto plan insurance. BC drivers can then buy optional insurance products like collision or comprehensive from ICBC or a private insurance company. Starting later in 2021, BC will move to a full no-fault insurance model, which means that in most cases, my insurance will cover me and your insurance will cover you, regardless of who caused the accident. ICBC will pay money to each party directly instead of both parties engaging in a lawsuit.
When we first looked at moving away from Alberta, we compared insurance costs between the two provinces, and we were really excited to discover that our rates would drop significantly once we were here in BC. But it wasn't until we arrived and switched our insurance that we learned that we didn't receive full credit for our good driving records in Alberta. At the time, out-of-province drivers moving to BC only got credit for a maximum of 4 years of good driving, which meant our rates actually went up when we moved here.
In June 2020, CanadaDrives.ca stated that British Columbians pay the highest average insurance premiums in Canada. But before provinces with private insurance puff out their chests too far, know that Ontario and Alberta have the second and third most expensive average insurance costs. ICBC is promising drivers discounts of up to 20% this year, and when you factor in that price drop, BC will only have the second highest average rates in the country.
Asking if BC insurance is better than Alberta insurance is like asking if it's better to fight a lion or a grizzly bear. Neither option is great. Both are going to inflict some degree of suffering, and you're just going to want it to be over and done with when you're in the middle of it. As it relates to owning a car in BC, it doesn't really matter which insurance model is superior. If you're going to live in BC, you'll need to follow BC's rules. Albertans will tell you that public insurance is one short step away from full-blown communism, but having lived here for nearly 8 years, I can tell you that my interactions with ICBC haven't been any different than my previous dealings with private insurance companies in Alberta, good or bad.
The other unavoidable vehicle expense is that gas is 15 to 20% more expensive here than it is in Alberta. As with insurance, you just need to accept it, as there's nothing you can do about it except maybe buying an electric car. The barely there silver lining for us is that even though gas costs more per liter, living in a small town on the Sunshine Coast means that we drive far fewer miles than we did in Edmonton. And because the weather is so much milder, our car doesn't need to idle for 10 minutes before going somewhere in the winter. While we pay more per liter, we use less of it, so our fuel costs are probably pretty close to what they were in Alberta.
Owning a car on the Sunshine Coast means we also had to start using higher octane fuel. We got away bombing around with the cheap stuff in Edmonton because the elevation is higher and the roads are generally flatter. But that's not the case living at sea level here in Gibsons, so we had to step up to higher octane gas in order to stop our engine from pinging.
When you move to BC, you have 90 days to switch to a BC driver's license. We used the full 90 days before we changed over, as we weren't sure whether or not our move to the coast was going to stick. At this point, I had reluctantly prepared myself to give up my Alberta driver's license, but wasn't prepared to be asked to hand in my Alberta license plate as well. Your vehicle registration has to change along with your driver's license. I wasn't emotionally ready to lose that part of my Alberta identity as well, and went home and had a bit of a cry. But I'm okay now.
Updating your vehicle's registration or dealing with insurance companies is never fun, but relocating your car to BC is relatively straightforward. Let us know in the comments below if you have a question we didn't answer in this video.